These two words have made all the difference in the way that I not only sing, but I show up in performance spaces. And I think that they are going to be transformative for you too.
Hola, my friend. I'm Melissa V. Cartwright, and welcome to the Passionate Performer Podcast. You have a voice that deserves to be heard. And you also deserve to have a performance career where you don't feel like you're sacrificing who you are to meet the demands of the industry. So we are here to help you problem solve those challenges, figure out why we're feeling the way we do, and give you the next right step. You ready? Let's go.
So glad you're here, my friend. I want to offer today's podcast in a little bit of a different format. You are still going to identify what it is you're feeling, why it is you're feeling this way, and how to move forward. But I want to offer it from 3 personal stories that I have experienced here lately that have it's basically synchronicity. If you're not familiar with that word, Julia Cameron talks about this in the book, The Artist Way. I have talked about that book several times in the course of this podcast. I'm even feeling a pull to kind of revisit it and jump back into it. But synchronicity basically is alignment. I believe it's a cause and effect relationship. In the last episode before we had Faith Candino on, I was talking about just some personal things happening for my artistry. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of that skinny today. So this really is going to feel more like a cafecito talk, a coffee talk. You can take what I'm offering, sort through it, see how it applies to you. But what has happened to me has also happened in the lives of a lot of the performing artists that I personally work with, even in my coaching services. So we've got receipts, and I'm eager to share these stories, these experiences with you. If you find yourself today wrestling with the whole, am I good enough? Doubt. We're going to just compile it in that one phrase. Am I good enough? And goodness, my friend, is too broad of a word to try to gauge what is it that we're measuring. Are we measuring your skill set as a singer? Are we measuring your ability to book a project, to book a show? This is why that word good is very dangerous to use. We're ascribing a moral quality to a lot of things that are happening in our lives, right? So it's too broad. So we're going to start right there. When we identify this feeling of being good enough, already there's confusion around what it is we're measuring. And you have to ask that question for yourself. Are you measuring your skill set in the sound of your voice? Are you hearing something in your singing that sounds unstable, sounds shaky, sounds breathy, sounds insert the blank? We've got to get more specific with that. Or are we talking about this desire, this longing to show up in performance spaces and actually experience the euphoria, the joy, the satisfaction? Let's lower the stakes just a little bit. The satisfaction of showing up in those performance spaces, feeling proud of the work that you've done, and then, having more opportunities to share your music, share your voice. So I'm just going to start with, let's just jump in, right? Like, first of all, I want to share the whole, am I good enough from a standpoint of, am I too late? And this is for any of my seasoned performers, because even my friends who are in their mid to late 20s still feel a twinge of this when there's certain roles that you want to go after or opportunities that you feel like you're aging out of. So this happens in every decade, whether you're in your 20s, whether you are in your 80s, right? This whole sense of having had life experiences or a little older, and then age being an identifier of, am I good enough? Okay. But let me tell you, you belong. Back in January of this year, I submitted for basically a performers showcase. It was sponsored by our local public broadcasting network here where I live, WHRO. Yay for public broadcasting systems. And they were offering this contest called Play Your Heart Out. It was an emerging artist contest. I'm specifically giving you the marketing language because it's super important. Emerging artist. And this year, when I sat down at the beginning of the year and not really vision boarded, but just kind of gathered my thoughts and journaled about the year, I really wanted to take some strides. I had some big goals for really elevating my personal artistry. producing my own cabaret that I've been working on for the last 2 years, really making an investment in performing more original music. And here was an opportunity to do that. Whoever was selected was going to have the chance to perform 1 to 2 of their original songs in a showcase. And so that was in January. I knew the showcase was going to be in August, but it was crickets after I hit submit. Okay. I did not get an email of, hey, congratulations, you've been selected, until 2 weeks before the performance date. And I was like, whoa, okay. Thankfully, I still had that performance date available. I said yes. And some lovely things happened in this space. But when I said yes, it was I did have an oh shit moment. Like, whew, I said yes. Okay, I do have this available. Thankfully, yes, I do have at least 2 original songs I feel strong about that I could perform. And one of the thoughts was, okay, I've been around a while. Then when we had a Zoom meeting to meet everybody and answer questions, I realized I am easily 20 years older than everybody else who is performing in this showcase. And that is okay. I say it's okay now, but I'm giving you the actual pep talk I was giving myself in the moment. Okay. And so I was eating dinner with my family and my husband and my girls and telling them, about the Zoom meeting and again, I'm going back to my grandma's word, tuku tuku, feeling the tuku tuku in my belly a little bit of like, okay, here we are. This is what I asked for. And my husband said something that it has been like a warm, fuzzy blanket that I can't let go of. He said, Mel, you belong. You belong in that space. I've said this before to my artists. I've said this before to my children. But again, in that time and space, it has been the heartbeat behind everything that I do and in how I'm showing up. And here's what happened. I showed up like I belong. Still activated, still with butterflies in my stomach because it was a new performance space. I knew some of the artists that I was going to be sharing the stage with, and they are people I'm genuinely fans of. And I was like, wow, I'm in this same performance space with some of these same artists that I have followed that I am super huge fans of and I admire. I showed up for that sound check. I belong. I was the last person to perform on the dock. And then that even gave me a little something. Like I felt a certain kind of way about that. And my husband reminded me again, Melissa, you belong. You belong. Had I shown up in that space, questioning every single move I make, questioning my outfit, questioning whether or not I should bring my keyboard, questioning whether, oh my gosh, can I perform with a track, questioning, looking at my peers and seeing the age gap and allowing myself to say, what am I doing here? Had I actually entertained those thoughts any longer than I should have, I would not have sung with the confidence and the freedom that I sang that day. There's a couple of factors that contributed, in addition to believing that I belong, that really helped that situation. The sound crew was fan-freaking-tastic. My voice felt like butter. I felt so at ease. And here's something beautiful that happens when you start saying and really truly believing that you belong in a performance space. You see your performance peers not as competition. They really are colleagues of yours. And I have always been that person that will audition for the first slot just to get it over with. And also, too, because sitting in the same room and having to hear other people I'm performing with, that can be a super huge source of performance anxiety for me. But by believing that I belong in that performance space, that I have something to say, that I have something to offer, that I can celebrate the fact that out of however many entries they received, that I was chosen for that moment to share my singing, to share beauty, to share creativity through the art form of singing and songwriting. What had happened was I really genuinely enjoyed every single one of my peers' performances. truly marveled at their skills, at their story, at the way they were executing their songs as musicians, as instrumentalists, and as vocalists. Like genuine fans of theirs. Like such respect and admiration and love and celebration because they belong as well. And when you believe that you belong in the performance space that you are currently in or that you are showing up to, you realize, taking the Shakespearean quote, all the world's a stage. I think it's Shakespeare. Have to fact check me on that. If that is true, think of how big that is, right? Let your imagination run wild. All the world's a stage. And it means that there is room for you on that stage. Whatever it is you have to say in the way that you say it, or in our instance, the way that you sing it, the way that you share it, it is meant to be shared and it is meant for someone there in that moment. Because I believed that I belong, let me tell you what happened after that. I had probably about 4 or 5 potential show/gig opportunities that were birthed out of that experience. What would have happened had I believed that I didn't belong? Was I 20 years older than a lot of these singers? Yep. Was my message, what I shared in that moment, meant for somebody? Absolutely. Audience members, thankfully, felt comfortable enough to approach me and say how much they enjoyed that. Do I belong? Absolutely, because I also belong in these other opportunities that were shared with me that I'm going to take advantage of. That's just one instance of the power of belonging. Belonging, not to receive admiration from the audience, belonging because I deserve to be here, because I do know how hard I've worked. I do want to say something very important here. If you are the singer that has put in hours of training, hours of practice into your skill, into your refining of your skill, you have signed up for every online course available. You probably have 5 voice teachers on your docket right now that you work with. Every week you are signing up for a new freebie. You've done the work. And there comes a time when you need to show up for the work. And you say you want to, create your vocal reel, your performance reel. You're ready to go book. You're ready to go sign up for that open mic night. Action breeds confidence, my friend. You belong in that performance space. You belong, okay? I had a fun, creative opportunity to work with a photographer here in town who was asking for muses. She just put out on Instagram, hey, I've got new equipment. I've got new concepts I want to play with, just looking for people who want to have fun, free of charge, just very, very generous with her time and her expertise. So I took her up on that offer and we were playing with authenticity. How does that show up for you in front of the camera and behind the camera? And so she would prompt me for different poses and she wanted me to play towards confidence. And I was like, all right, this is my jam. This is my jam. She took a few shots of me just with her saying that. And I will admit that I was kind of absent-minded, right? I didn't have one thing I was focusing on in my head. I was just trying to get comfortable in my body. The moment I connected, I belong, along with I am powerful, I am confident, I am beautiful, I have something to offer. When I started connecting I belong with the sequence of those thought processes in my head as though I was speaking out loud to myself, she said, I can still pinpoint the exact moment that was happening in the studio with her. And she said, oh my, your eyes. Oh, stay. I don't know what you're telling yourself, but stay right there in that moment and just clickety, click, 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 click. And when she gave me the pictures, I'll put one of the pictures up here in just a second. If you're listening to this on another source, you can watch this on YouTube and see the exact moment where I was saying this to myself. And I could see it in my eyes. I could see what was captured behind the lens in that moment of, I belong in this space. I was welcomed in this space. I am celebrated in this space. And sometimes, my friend, you have to be the one to tell yourself. My husband makes jokes with me that he always hears me talking to myself. I process out loud. And yes, I do. And I give myself pep talks out loud. But you can also have this internal monologue. And so I kind of want to just pause right here and ask you, whose voice are you hearing? When you hear the voice of empowerment, like I belong, I'm confident, I'm powerful, who does that voice sound like? Because maybe you have had a person in your life, a mentor, a family member, a friend, a loved one, that was that voice of reason for you, that was that voice of truth in your life. When I hear or when I pay attention to empowering thoughts or confident thoughts in my head, who does it sound like? And I say who, give that person a name, personality, image. And when you hear the dissenting voices of, I'm not good enough, I suck, I'm too loud, I'm too much, who does that sound like? Give that an identifier. And this goes back to the power of specificity. You need to do the work to identify what these voices sound like. What do these thoughts sound like? What does it evoke in your body? And the more awareness you have around that, the better you can move through mental blocks that show up as singing blocks, as performance blocks in your journey. So the moment I actually said that to myself in my head, I belong, visually, there was a powerful change in the way that I showed up in that space. Okay, third story. I hope you're enjoying this story time. I recently did an open call casting audition. I have not done one of these probably in decades, this type of format where they're like, sing whatever you want, sing 1632 bars of something that you want, prepare a monologue. We're going to have a room full of 20, 30 casting directors from the area. So basically, it's a glorified show and tell. And I knew this was also part of my goals this year was to be able to audition locally here in town for local theaters. Some of the people in this room in particular also champion original shows. And I had such a lovely time for the last 2 summers being a part of an original work like Pelagius the musical that I wanted to be able to still invest in that as part of my artistic goals and as a theater lover in addition to being a singer-songwriter. So here I am preparing my song choices, preparing my monologue, and this is how I Belong showed up in this space. Kind of similar to the WHRO performance. I had made an appointment for the audition, and some people had not, so they had to kind of wait in line. But even the way I started walking up those steps and I looked people in the eye and I said, hey, is this the line? The energy can also be a calming presence for people around you. Because I believed I belong in that space, I had an awareness of who was around me and being able to help some people who had, confusion around how to fill out the form for the audition and everything. I was like, yep, you could just go here, here, and here. And I was settled. And then when it was my time, I had a person in front of me and 2 people behind me in the holding space to the point that I was able to center and focus and be with myself, but also offer just an encouraging word like, hey, break a leg. Is this your first time? Just a little bit of small talk, as that what happens in the audition room. But it wasn't just small talk for the sake of small talk to fill the space. It was a genuine, hey, we're in this together. I see you. We are doing the dang thing, right? I was nervous, I had butterflies in my stomach. I could feel the activation in my body. The last thing I said to myself, even as I exhale, I always like to take a deep breath in and then exhale and then execute. As I exhaled, I was exhaling, I belong in this space. I belong in this space. And fun fact, I got a call back. And even as I'm hitting record on this episode, I am waiting to see what the results of that callback were, right? No matter what happens, I belong, that phrase, that banner is serving me in such lovely, beautiful ways for my art in this space and time. And so, my dear passionate performer, all right, fellow gigger, fellow theater nerd, fellow songwriter, however you're showing up in spaces as a performing artist, there's beauty in simplicity. And for all the work, like I said, that you have invested and all the money you've invested and time you've invested, maybe those 2 words, I belong, can hold it all together for you as you move forward. And I do want to leave you with this because this can sound super fluffy, but if there is no action behind this statement, it's all for nothing. Don't fall into the trap of, I'm going to use a funny word, performance impotence, where you become a hoarder of knowledge and there's no application. You're not stepping into these spaces, then I belong, it's not going to serve you. I belong coupled with that step of faith towards something. Whether it's, I'm going to try actually filming myself in my living room and watching it back. That could be a huge step for you in this moment of your artistry. Or it's, I belong, and because I belong, I'm going to go put my name on that open mic list. And I belong in this space with all of these other artists that are sharing their message. And when it's my turn, I'm going to do it in a way that nobody else in this room, they can't do it. They don't have my vocal folds. They don't have my life story. It is mine to offer. It's mine to share. And I'm choosing to do that in this space as a performing singer. My friend, if you found this encouraging, reach out on Instagram and DM me and tell me how this is landing for you. And I will say this, inside of our Passionate Performer program, some of our clients are really starting to see the fruit of this mindset work coupled with action of actually singing, hitting record on themselves, or actually showing up in performance spaces and finding that they're getting requests to perform more, feeling like their soul is intact as well as their thought process. You can become a member today. You can try it for free for 7 days. After that, it's a minimum 3-month commitment because I want you to have the opportunity to really dive deep into all of the resources that are available to you. So if you're interested, that's in the show notes. Let You Belong be an anchor for you today as you move forward. Break a leg, my friend. You got this.